Can you really run and lift on the same day? Or does running kill your gains? This is a question a lot of hybrid athletes face, and if you're not doing the 3 things in this video, you're probably already struggling. Today, I'm going to lay out all 3 ways you can optimize your training to boost endurance and avoid losing strength and muscle. And to make these steps easy to implement, I'll also throw in a free guide, but we'll get more into that later. The first route we can take involves spreading your sessions throughout the day. This may seem obvious, but there's actually a threshold where if 2 disciplines are trained too close together, the stimulus from the workout becomes less effective than if they were trained with time apart. This is backed by this 2016 study, where 58 rugby players were randomly assigned to 4 groups for a 7-week period. Group 1 just trained strength. Group 2 trained strength and endurance, but with no rest. Group 3 did the same but with 6 hours of rest, and Group 4 had 24 hours of rest. Measurements of strength and endurance were taken before the 7 weeks and immediately after the whole training period. The results found the strength levels for the bench press and squat were lower in the group that had no rest in comparison with the groups that had 6 hours, 24 hours, and the group that didn't complete the endurance exercise. Overall, it seemed that the longer the rest between training strength and endurance, the better the gains. Meaning that just training strength alone is the most optimal way to build strength, but as hybrids, we know that this can't be the case. So we have to accept that our training isn't optimal because our effort is spread across both disciplines. In summary then, for the most optimal hybrid training, don't do strength and endurance sessions back to back where possible. 6 hours should be the minimum amount of time apart, and 24 hours is the best. Now I'm aware that doesn't always fit the needs of the individual, and this leads us into the next question. What kind of running can we mix with strength work? We now know that in order to get the most benefit out of training twice a day, we have to keep the sessions 6 hours apart. So what running sessions should we do on the days we want to train strength as well? It's worth noting that some endurance work should be completely separate from strength training for recovery purposes. So let's go over what you should avoid. Performing strength on the same day as a tempo or long slow run can negatively impact your training. Aim to separate these where possible to allow for adequate recovery and an optimal stimulus response from running. You can, however, get away with mixing sprints or faster intervals with strength work. Just be sure to allow 6 or more hours for recovery and you'll be golden. If you do have to train both sessions right after each other, just make sure you're using the same muscle groups. For example, train lower body strength and then complete your intervals after. This works better because the muscles are already warm for the next session. Let's summarise all of that. Keep your tempo and long runs separate. You can mix fast intervals or sprints with strength sessions. Just make sure that they're 6 hours apart for best results. If you must train them together, make sure to train the same muscle groups. Okay, finally, the structure of the plan. This is by far the most important factor to help us run and lift on the same day. So what makes this essential? Without proper structure, you'll end up fatigued on days you need to be ready to perform, in turn compromising recovery and hindering overall progress. So how can we run and lift on the same day and not compromise our recovery? We can start by looking at our schedule as a whole. Here's an example week which takes into account the 2 previous rules. Here we have adequate spacing between the different training sessions. There's a couple of additional rules to structure a training week correctly. The first is that legs shouldn't be trained the day after a hard interval session. You can see that on Monday and Wednesday, I've planned hard intervals and a tempo run. The following days are easy runs to shake out the legs. Short runs like these can aid recovery by increasing blood flow and mobility, which prevents tightness later on in the week. This can also help you warm up for more active mobility work or stretching. The second rule comes from my own personal experience. I find it really beneficial to complete all my runs in the morning and strength in the afternoon or evening. This is because I find it difficult to run after I've trained legs heavily. But this is just my take, however. For a condensed step-by-step guide of all the points included in this video and some tips on how to make a double session day easier for yourself, go check out the PDF I've put together. I'll leave the link in the description. And while you're there, if you found the video useful so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. So, for those of you who watched my last video, you'll also see that I've structured the week to align with the volume intensity graph. This just means that at the start of the week should be more intense and low in volume, then as the week progresses, the intensity should decrease as the volume creeps up. There's also 4 other key factors to creating a hybrid plan that will allow you to lift heavy and run fast at the same time. Go watch this video next to make sure your plan isn't holding you back.